morning, my dear North American YouTube followers, or anybody in the world, actually. Yeah, this place is international. There's Italians here, there's English, there's all kind of people. What kind?
Oh, English.
Martians?
Britons. No,
Oh.
I said Britons.
Yep, this is the off season. It's not sunny enough to wear sunglasses today. Of course, it's early. Clouds might burn off in a couple hours.
But you look good, Frank.
Thank you.
You look well rested.
It's good if your wife thinks you look good. At our age. So what's on our mind today? HM family life in Ecuador. Going on our 6th year. As you know, we took a detour in our living situation and were forced to detour to the coast. The big question is, should you move to Salinas? And I thought, well, I'm not the one to ask that. I think that a person's probably asking himself that. Should I move to Salinas? And I know you're watching our videos and thinking, gee, should I move to Salinas? But remember that we're proponents of looking at the whole picture, the entire picture, not just the postcard. And this is not a reflection on Salinas itself. It's a reflection on you, on me, on us, the people. Meaning, you got to know yourself, you know, because it's stressful moving across continents, and it's expensive. I was thinking yesterday, in CUENCA we walk to the park and sit down. It doesn't cost anything. Here, you come over here and sit down under a canopy and it costs $6. For one day. No, actually we stayed 3 hours. So, that's the big question you're probably asking yourself. Should I move to Salinas? It's hilarious because people say to themselves, and I believe this is just human nature. People say to themselves, well, gee, they got an okay house for $300. I wonder what I can get for $500 to $700. And people are like this. They ask that, and they just overlook the fact that they're not here, and they shouldn't be even thinking that. But I imagine it's human nature to do so. But clearly, you know, you're thinking these thoughts from over there, where it's a whole different scene. And you shouldn't even be thinking in dollars. You should be thinking about the local scene and what it's all about, the complete picture, not just what can I get for this much. The beachfront here is Florida prices, but not in Florida. You know what I mean. And you go back there, the first few rows are getting really obnoxious with their demands and their pricing. And that's all because it's a small area, and it doesn't take long for the demand to outstrip the supply. So if you go further back, not recommended if you don't speak Spanish. Now, there are a few brave souls like myself that do things like that, but it's not recommended for your average gringo, especially if you're up in age, and especially if you're alone. But it's not just that, it's that the houses are all old and run down. And yet the landlords still have this buoyant attitude towards pricing, as if their small 100-meter house that's run down and old is worth $400. It's not. It can be clearly shown throughout all of our writings that Ecuadorian prices are still $200 to $300 a month. We've been here in Ecuador for 5 years and haven't paid over $300 a month. The only ones that do that is the foreigners. Not being judgmental, it's just a fact. Had a lady that wants to go way out in the country around CUENCA, and she has the income, but she doesn't understand that the infrastructure way out in the country is not the same as in the city. So people just don't have the complete picture when they think about dollars and cents. And I think that Americans are used to thinking in dollars and cents. This is how Americans think. Well, this isn't, I don't know how to say it other than just to say it, It's just a whole different ball game, guys.
For example, even though it took us 10 grueling days to find one of the older houses that was livable and acceptable, we still had to make changes to it. It still has no kitchen cupboards, and we have absolutely zero plug-ins in the bathroom. Can't plug in my shaver. I'm having second thoughts on buying a shaver at all. It's such
Where are you gonna shave?
such a hassle. I might just take my goatee off.
No, you won't. That goatee stays.
So, yeah, every situation belongs to itself. It is not transferable. Your situation up north is not something you just transfer by simply penciling in the dollars and cents aspect of the equation. There's a whole lot more. That's why it's called an equation. Well, there's a whole lot more to the equation and the whole picture. There's a whole bunch more there to the picture. So I just want to alert you to this kind of stuff. I think part of it's human nature and part of it is just a North American culture.
So, should you move to Salinas? Well, you can move to Salinas, and if you want, but at least you come with eyes wide open. It's like what we always said in CUENCA.
Blast those speakers.
Oh yeah, by the way, it's Sunday morning. It's Sunday morning, y'all that like to sleep in. It's like 8:20 a.m. So the summary of the last couple dozen videos is that, should you move to Salinas? Actually, we had an interesting couple write in lately that said, you guys helped us get a place in CUENCA, and we moved back to Florida, she said. And she said, well, we can now live vicariously through your blog. So there you go. It's true. I used to do a lot of vicarious living through blogs before we moved down here. It's interesting, It's better than watching TV.
Just to be more clear about some of the statements that I make, don't forget, I'm not picking on anybody. About somebody asking, well, gee whiz, they got a decent house of $300, what can I get for $500 to $700? Remember, there's a guy right behind you saying, what can I get for $1,000? And then there's a guy right behind him saying, what can I get for $1,500? You see the point now? That's what I'm talking about. And it's a big problem, for us guys at the bottom of the food chain here. But I imagine those guys at the $1,500 level, they have a lot of frustration because there's nothing for $1,500 that you can't get somewhere else, like in Florida, and have better.
The personal interaction aspect of living in South America is key, really. If you're considering a permanent move, which I don't know how somebody could do that without really knowing themselves 100%. If you're considering a permanent move, whereas not in your budget to pay Florida prices, and you want to go back there, there's three things. There's the condition and the lack of value, the language issue, and then there's even if you had the language and somehow mitigated the lack of value and lack of condition in the real estate, even if you did those two things, you still have the personal interaction aspect of Latin America. Now, and I'm not saying that you aren't capable or won't be able to or whatever. If you're not generally outgoing and generally have a peaceful disposition where you are led to settle conflicts or difficult personalities in a peaceful manner, which as a believer, that should be our foundation anyway. Be at peace with all men. That's what we're called to do. And so I guess I'm encouraging people to look at it that way. Your reliance on the teaching of being at peace with all men would really flourish in South America because it's such a personal interaction type of culture, which means it's between you and the other person persons you're interacting with.
The garbage man. He comes around 8-ish too.
On Sunday.
Menos promesas incumplidas por tanto tiempo y más acción. En Santa Rosa también vamos por más.
I think it's time to get up.
Well, I'm early to bed, early to rise. But if you're not, you will be. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things people will put up with on vacation or short term. It's like that apartment we were looking at over here that they wanted $500. We showed you the pictures already. It was really dumpy, no elevator, 3 floors. All I did was point out it needed paint. They didn't like that. Because the short-termers, they come in, okay, so the walls are scuffed. Well, okay. You know, the North American standards, they're here. They're here, but you're going to pay Florida prices for it. And that's kind of a dichotomy. It's counterintuitive. It's like, you know, all the pictures are always saying to go abroad because it's cheaper, and yet you come abroad and it's not cheaper.